In this video, we'll have a look at importing files into Spotfire. We can import files into Spotfire to access their data directly. The types of files include Excel spreadsheets, comma-separated value files, flat files like text files, and access files. But we can open these types of files directly without specifying any special access. Now, we can do that in a number of ways. On the opening page here, you can click on the Open File option. You can also click on the Open icon on the toolbar, or in the File menu, you can select Open, or even add data tables. There's just a number of ways that you can do this. Let's go ahead and click on Open here. Now first, we'll open an Excel spreadsheet. Now here's an Excel spreadsheet, XLSX. So it's a Microsoft Excel worksheet from Microsoft Office 2016, actually, and the same with sales. Now we'll open up sales because we've got a CSV file so we can compare later. Okay, so let's go ahead. We'll open these. Now you can see here under this drop down the different versions and different types of files that we can open here. So there's all kinds of different file formats that we can open directly. So let's go ahead. We'll open up that Excel spreadsheet called sales. And in the Excel import dialog that comes up, you'll notice here that there's a worksheet drop down. And this is important because if we have multiple worksheets, since we can only import one at a time, Spotfire gives us the option to choose whichever one to import. And speaking of Excel, let's go in here and have a look. Now here we've got Sales 2016 and Sales 2017 worksheets. So let's go ahead. We will load that up. Notice before we do that, though, that you can specify to ignore empty rows. You can also specify rows that you want to ignore. You can also specify columns that you want to ignore. Now, you'll notice also that Spotfire detected what type of data this is. This is integer data, so it correctly detected that. And this is date data. It correctly detected that as well. Okay, so let's click on OK, and now it's opening that file. And we see recommended visualizations come up. Now specify, for example, quantity, and it would give us a number of different visualizations that we can choose from, and click on Add This, so we can add that to our analysis file. We'll just close this for now. You can specify, if you go to Tools, Options, and Document, you can specify the initial visualization when loading data that gets created here. We'll just leave that as is, and we'll click on the table icon here in the toolbar, and that will show us a tabular visualization of our data. Now you'll notice what looks like a mistake. Here we are in Sales 2016, and we've got a date of 12/3/2019, so that must be a mistake. And this brings me to a point that I'd like to bring up, is that the underlying data, if it's changed, we can reload the data. So let's go out to our Excel spreadsheet. We'll go here and we'll change this date to the correct year. We'll save that. Let's go here, and if we click on the Reload Data icon, we'll see that it reloads the data, and now our date is correct. Now, if you go to Edit, Data Table Properties, and under the General tab, you'll see here a couple of options. Store data, embedded in analysis, or link to source. If you link it to source, which is the default here, then what happens is the data remains with the source file, and it's loaded in memory by Spotfire when the analysis file is open or when we reload the data. Embedded in analysis allows us to keep that data separate from the original file and embed it in the analysis file. And this is great if we want a more portable app. So if we want to take this somewhere, we want the data embedded in the analysis file, we can specify that here. However, refresh data does still work and updates the embedded data with any changes that are made to this source. We'll just leave the default at link to source, and we'll click on OK here. So that's opening a spreadsheet. Now let's go and we'll click Open here. We'll select No here to not save changes. And now we'll go and open a comma-separated values file. You can see that sales.csv here. Click on Open, and in the Import Settings dialog that comes up, you can see that it specified or correctly detected the comma as the separator character. And you can see here that it correctly identified the data types again. And again, we can choose to include or not include columns and rows. So let's click on OK, and we'll see the recommended visualizations come up again. We'll just close that and we'll go to our table icon again. And there's our table data from sales.csv. Now let's go and open a text file. So here's a regular text file. Let's go ahead, we'll open this. Okay, and you can see that again, it detected the comma is the separator character. And again, we can exclude columns or rows if we want. So let's go ahead and just open that, and we'll see that data. Close this, and we'll see that data come up in our table visualization, the same as with the CSV. Now, if we look at the Notepad version of this file, or if we look at this file in Notepad, we can see here that this is what it looks like. So a bunch of codes and a date separated by a comma. And that's what we're looking at here. Very cool. Okay, now we can open an access file directly as well without any special access setup. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll click on Open. We won't save these changes again. And here we see employee sales.mdb. So let's just click on that. Click Open. And you can see here in Specify Tables and Columns dialog, we can select whatever tables, views, or columns that we want. So if we expand this, we can select specific columns. Okay, so here we can select specific columns, or we can just select all of them. Select all of them. So you can see select sales.star from sales. Okay, so now once we've done that, now before we do anything else actually, have a look at this. So what we can do is we can save this SQL. So let's go, we'll click on Save SQL, and we'll just call this Load. And now if we were to start this whole process over again, all we'd have to do is load up that SQL file. So we just click here, load up our SQL file, and it would use this same query. Okay, now before we open it, we have to give it a name. So we'll just call it My Access Source. And then we'll click on OK. And again, we see the recommended visualizations dialog come up. We'll just close that, and we'll go to our table viewer and have a look. And there's the data that we just loaded from Microsoft Access. Okay, so in this video, we looked at importing files into Spotfire.